Good evening, everyone. I'd like to open the meeting this May 1st at 6 p.m. for the Planning Commission meeting. Thank you all for joining us. The first order of business is the approval of the minutes, and I see one small error myself. On page 2, it's Baltimore Pike instead of Baltimore Poke. Are there any other changes? Yes, Jimmy?
On page 5 at the top, it says, agreement with the police department that they may come on site and trespass. Yeah,
I had that too.
Yes.
I'm trying to circle these. Your Baltimore Poke is where?
Is on page 2.
First paragraph, second paragraph?
All right. It is page 2, first paragraph, third line. Third line, Baltimore.
Got it.
Okay.
The other one?
Jimmy?
oh, top of page 5,
Second line, at the end.
the first entry at the top.
I think the second sentence, trespass.
Just take off and trespass.
Mm-hmm. And also, am I wrong, but the first full paragraph on page 5, it says 13,000 and some, or was that to have been 15? Wasn't there a change?
There was, but 13,000, the way that works, is, it should, yeah, you're right, it should change, because when you include the mezzanine space, it's 15,000 and some.
Okay.
I can substitute that number, if that's okay with the planning commission.
I'm sure that is. Okay. All right, with those changes, then do I have a,
Move for approval of the minutes as amended.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Kevin, if you would please present the first new business being presented.
Okay, first, before I go up there, some folks may be here to speak. The way that the proceedings will go tonight is that the town will give a summary of the project, then the applicant will get up and make their presentation. Following their presentation, then anyone from the public may speak either opposing or supporting the application. If the applicant brings a expert up to talk, you may ask them questions, but only about what they've been speaking about, nothing unrelated. That comes later when you can give a general statement. Also, if you have any cell phones, please silence them. Bathrooms are over here to your left. And the first project, the only project on the agenda is 102 North Bond Street. It is Zone B3A. That's General Business Gateway. The applicant's requesting site plan and landscape plan approval for a 3,300 square foot, one-story commercial building to be constructed on a 15,000 square foot vacant lot for a restaurant and nail salon. Associated with the restaurant use, a special development is required for the outdoor dining. A waiver also is required for stacked parking. The proposed building will contain 2,200 square foot restaurant and a 1,100 square foot nail salon, both of which are permitted in the B3A zone per table 3-7. Those service uses and are subject to applicable code requirements. These requirements are addressed in the performance standards that are attached to the application in your package. Together, these uses require 22 parking spaces. 12 spaces are required for the 36-seat restaurant, and 10 spaces are required for the 5-station nail salon. The developer is proposing 23 spaces accessed from Alice Ann Street. 16 of these spaces are proposed to be tandem or stacked spaces, and we do refer to both of those rows of parking just because one is blocked in by the other, both considered tandem. Section 165 51F1E allows the planning commission to approve stacked parking provided there is no adverse impact to the use or circulation. While a letter was provided to address the exemption from a traffic study, there's no statement that's been provided by the applicant regarding the justification for this parking arrangement. And it is assumed this will be addressed at the hearing by the applicant. Past developments have been approved for proposals that consist entirely or in part of residential uses. It's the opinion of staff that residential or office uses have much more control of parking operations than service uses do. This is where walking patrons are monitored to a lesser degree. The concern is that vehicle overflow may impact the on-street parking along Alice Ann Street and may be parking on 108 North Bond next door to a greater degree when spaces are not available on site. The applicant is encouraged to explain, again, how these proposed parking organization would work. While the location of the refuse recycling enclosure meets code, it's suggested that the enclosure be 3 feet from the property line instead of 2. That it would then meet the accessory use requirements of the code. But again, it does meet it. You can go right up to the property line if you like in the B3A. The building footprint extends to the North Bond Street right-of-way, which is permitted by the B3A zoning standards. That is, what I'm saying there is the building is right on the property line along Bond Street. However, the adjacent historically designated property is set back approximately 7 feet from the right-of-way and may be impacted by the location of the larger proposed building. Appears there is room between the proposed building and parking to move away from the right-of-way and provide some consistency in the architectural relationship to Bond Street. 4 parallel metered spaces are proposed for removal by the new entrance as shown on the plan. The applicant's encouraged to describe how the proposed site access is coordinated with the existing on-street parking and whether the 2 existing curb cuts along Alice Ann Street will be removed with this development, which we assume it will, but it's not noted there. The applicant must work with the Department of Public Works during engineering review to determine the most efficient method to access the site that would eliminate the least number of on-street spaces. It should be noted that any elimination of metered spaces would require approval by the town board. The town board controls metered spots. So there's 5 metered spots along Alice Ann Street. When this project's done, there needs to be 5 metered spots remaining. So that's something that, again, needs to get worked out. A pedestrian connection from the proposed parking lot to Alice Ann Street should be provided to maintain connectivity. That's something we always typically provide. It appears there is some connection to the building from Bond Street, but it also appears those are steps there. So we would like to provide some kind of a handicap accessible
Is
connection.
it the site plan as submitted that's causing these metered spaces to need to go?
Yes, because right now there are 2 curb cuts that were there when probably there was a residence there many years ago.
Lesters lived there,
And those curb cuts are maybe 10 feet wide.
Right.
So when they put in this radial access, it takes up a pretty large area. And so a lot of those spaces are being removed or have to be removed when the site access is installed. Do remember that the town has to be able to provide site access to a property owner. But how that is done and in what manner is really what is up to.
Is there any recommended option that they could consider for the site plan that would eliminate the need to eliminate parking meters?
One of the problems there is it's unknown whether or not these spaces are being eliminated because they're not showing what spaces are being provided, what the spaces are existing and how those are changing with the new entrance. So I don't know whether the spaces are being eliminated. One of the things that could be done, and it's something that Commissioner Slayer is suggested in the past, is that instead of having what they call filleted entrances, where you have radiused curbs going in, you have a concrete apron. And that actually provides for the motorist to give the pedestrian more deference when accessing the site. So that's a little less.
The reason
Area
I asked the
impacted.
question is, and obviously we haven't heard from the folks yet, but I think they're gonna have some things to work on. And I would hope that those could be, including this matter of the metered spaces, that they wouldn't do whatever else we recommend for them to do, and then, okay, now we've accomplished all that, and now we still gotta get the town board's approval to do something about metered spaces, separate.
It all
Activity.
depends on whether or not the meters are being removed. Meaning, if there are still 5 metered spaces on there, on the proposed plan, then they're good to
Well,
go.
that'll be one of my recommendations, if we to come up with something where you don't have to eliminate metered spaces.
Right. And that's, I left it somewhat vague in the recommendations, but that's something that you guys can take a look at and mark up. One of the other questions that wasn't included in the staff report is, how does service loading and unloading work? It looks like it's likely that when you're accessing the refuse recycling, you would have to pull in and then back out. That happens a lot in Bel Air, so that's not something that I don't think they can avoid that. My concern is, how is the restaurant loaded and unloaded? So that's something that's gonna have to be answered. The applicants provided several colored elevations of the development that indicate the proposed architecture. These renderings have been provided to the town architectural consultant for review and comment. And those are provided in your, hard copy has been provided for you, and I think I emailed you. I got it like one day late after I sent this out. And something happened with the mail. The state highway just got this project in their mail about 3 days ago. So something happened where it delayed a lot of these deliveries. So anyway, you do have that. Let's see. Do note in the comments from the architectural consultant, he's referring to the project as mixed use. That's not correct. It's, it is not a mixed use. It's service uses and service uses. So that does not affect any of his comments because the use of the building is not predicated on architectural review. Staff has also reviewed the elevations and offers the following. The proposed building consists of red brick veneer, gray hardy panel, cream-colored hardy plank siding, and a flat roof along with extensive storefront glass. The adjacent historically designated property at 108 Bond Street has cream-colored siding and a copper standing seam gable roof. And photos are attached of what that building looks like. Development Regulations, Section 165-24E, 165-41A-6, and Section 165-53B-1I all require that the proposed development adjacent to historically designated properties must be compatible in color, size, material, and mass with the historic property. With the exception of the cream-colored siding covering approximately about 15% of the facade, the proposed architecture does not appear to reflect the same colors or materials. Section 165-33B-4 requires a minimum of 60% of the facade be occupied by glass as demonstrated, and that's actually 40 to 60%, sorry. The Planning Commission may approve less, and given the use of this building, that's probably appropriate to allow less glass to be proposed, because it's not really storefront. It's more of if it wants to be reflective of the adjacent historic building, it's got to be a little bit less commercial
Less
looking.
glass.
Outdoor dining is proposed at the corner of North Bond and Alisand, associated with the restaurant use. The exterior dining capacity cannot exceed 27 seats. And that's 75% of the interior, without additional parking. This area is considered seasonal and cannot be enclosed without additional parking provided. Performance standards found in section 165-53I to I that restrict amplified music, public address, live entertainment, and recreational games have been provided by the applicant. So they've addressed those performance standards. Planning Commission may place conditions on other aspects of the operation of the dining area if desired. The development is extensively landscaped with substantial buffer along the north property line and along Alisand Street. Parking lot buffering and interior landscape are adequately provided. It's recommended that one additional tree or relocated tree, it doesn't have to be it could be something relocated from somewhere else, be placed on the island east of the side entrance. Consideration should be given to providing a vegetative buffer to the adjacent house of worship. There is no requirement in the code to provide a buffer to an institutional use, but the Planning Commission may determine, based upon its proximity, that that's something that you desire. Any proposed installation or removal of trees in the state right-of-way requires MDOT approval. Now, your purview is not over forest conservation, but I'm giving you this as a context. Forest conservation analysis has been provided. However, it's staff assessment that that section 165-45B2 woodland areas and unique vegetation applies to this property. Whenever a property is less than 1 acre, it falls under the town requirements for any trees that are on the property. And there are specimen trees on the property. When removed, they'll have to be replaced, or a fee in lieu would be provided. Again, that flows through staff, but I just wanted you to be aware. Photometric plans also provided, and that's in your package. A couple of items have been added to the recommendations. Depending on what happens with the site access and the on-street parking, this may require going to the Board of Appeals, just what you just said. And service access, loading, unloading, that's just something to remind you whether or not you need to add that to the to recommendations. Everything else is as you see it. That's all I have for. I know that was a long one, but that's
No.
all I have. And I'll,
Thorough.
Danny, so just state your name and your address, and you can come up to the microphone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, can you use the mic? Just for another housekeeping thing. This is Ann. She's great. She's our court reporter. Everything that you are saying is being taken down. So just state your name, address, and speak concisely into the mic so she can hear you. Okay, thank you.
My name is Danny Nguyen. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. We appreciate it. I just wanted my wife here is Ann Lam. I wanted to introduce ourselves first. We moved here from Vietnam about 25 years ago actually, and we fall in love with Mel Inn, and we made this our home here. We currently have a nail salon business about 5 minutes from here. We've been in the business for about 13 years already. Besides the nail salon business, our family also have a restaurant for the past 30 years in Vietnam. So we love to cook. So for a special holiday, my wife, she usually make a Vietnamese food, to give to our customers. And our customer always, they love the food, and they always ask, how come you don't make the food, make a restaurant, and we would love to come and we would love to eat there every day. We would love to support you guys. Knowing Jenny here, she loved to cook and she loved to take care of others. So we would love to have our own restaurant here in Bel Air. So a few years back, we were able to acquire this parking lot, this lot at 102 North Bond Street, which we thought it would be a perfect location for our restaurant. We thought this area here has a lot of bars food and a lot of chickens, around, but not a lot of comfort.
Getting more every day, too.
Not a lot of good comforting food. We need a good pho restaurant in the Bel Air area. The best thing about pho is that it's such a restorative food. The comforting soup that is savory and rich, while still feeling clean and refreshing at the same time. Traditional Vietnamese cooking has often been characterized as using fresh ingredients, not using much dairy or oil, and making use of herbs and vegetables. The cuisine also low in sugar and is almost always natural, free of gluten, as many of the dishes are rice-based instead of wheat-based. So anyways, we were able to get in touch with Frederick Ward to help us with the building for our nail salon and a Vietnamese restaurant. We thought that it would be great that we can operate it so that we can right next to each other and manage it at the same time.
Where is your nail salon located? What
Yes,
part?
sir. It's right at the Rock Spring Shopping Center,
Ah,
at the giant Rock Spring.
Gotcha,
Yes.
yep. And it's important to your business model and business plan to be able to get them combined on this one site?
To come again?
Is it important to your business model that you have both the restaurant and the nail
Yes,
salon
by
right
that
here?
way we can support
Okay.
each other.
Lots of these complications would go away if you just were asking to build a restaurant there, but,
Just kind of business, nail salon,
Can you
Yes, yeah.
name and address?
Naaman.
so, I'm sorry, my name is Helen, everybody call me Jenny.
Jenny?
Jenny what?
Jenny, like Jennifer.
Jenny.
So everybody know that name, they forgot about my real name. They want to call me that. So, and I've been here like 18 years, and when I came, I just like do nail, and I have a lot of my loyal customer, and they did support me for years. And for my character, I love to work. I work the whole, whatever the time my customer want, I'm there. I just like happy to work.
Amen. Sorry.
So I just feel like, from during COVID, and I lost a lot of my customers because from COVID. And after COVID, a lot of my clients, their health is go down from the way the food is not really healthy. I didn't cook and I bring the food for my customer. I bring to them and sharing. And I feel like, I should do something for my people. And finally, we can afford to buy the slot from 102 North Bond Street. So, but because I run a business from nails, and I have a lot of clients, and all, I'm sorry, I'm so shaky right now.
That's okay. Take your time.
All my income is from that. And I want to do the two business together, like next together, so I can like keep the eye for my people, for my staff. They doing well, they do the right way, support to my restaurant. So I have to be like the same business, like, back and forth. So so I can like keep an eye too, and I make sure everything will be on the good way. So
That makes sense, and,
Yeah.
and probably be
Okay.
hoping that some people will get their nails done and stay and have
Yeah,
lunch. Right.
that's my goal.
Got it. Okay,
All
good
right,
answer.
thank you. Thank you.
So, Ms. Evelyn here, she will hopefully to present to you guys the project, and we're hoping to, seeking for your blessing to get the approval. Yes.
Thank you very much.
I'm Kate Pierce with Bridgeport Associates, 5 South Main Street, Bel Air, Maryland.
I think her mic's not on, Kevin. Can you check it? I can normally hear you, Caitlin.
I'll project. Okay, so right up on your screen, so you have the site plan that was submitted. After reviewing the staff report, we decided that you're happy to adjust the dumpster location and move everything 3 feet away from the property line.
Good.
And we're also happy to adjust the building and move it 7 feet from the property line so that it will be more aligned with the historic code.
May I?
Yes,
What are you doing?
yes.
Do you know the other corners?
No.
Caitlin, did you say dumpster 3 feet from the property line and the building back 7 feet from the property line? Okay, thanks.
Staff report, I believe, it stated that it was suggested that we move the parking lot and the dumpster 3 feet from the property line, neighboring the historic building, and then shift the building back 7 feet from the front property line
Okay, great.
to be in line.
Thanks.
And we're happy to do that, we have the space to be able to adjust that.
Good.
We are also requesting the tandem parking, which we know has been approved in the past through planning commission. The way the tandem parking would work for this site is the internal parking spaces would be for employees of the restaurant and the nail salon. Only employees would be able to park on the internal spaces. So that the outside spaces that have the easy access to the circulation would be for the employees. And the idea behind this is that for each station, there's 5 stations in the nail salon. There'll be a technician and then the employee, and they'd be able to park with the employee internally and then the customer on the outside for easy access. Both of these uses are not long duration stays. Our clients have assured us that no one stays longer than an hour for both uses, so that there would be lots of movement in and out, so that if one of the employees needed to get out and have access, it would be relatively a short time.
Okay.
And then I would like to bring Tom Miner up to discuss the entrance into this.
Sure, so, Tom Miner, 5 South Main Street. So, for the entrance configuration, so currently, there's 2 entrances on the site. And we recognize that as when we develop, or any time we use, probably want to have 2 entrances in the future. To Kevin's kind of point of the 5 metered spaces, I think we have to check with DPW to see if while this space here, you guys can see what I'm looking at. This space here is metered. I'm not sure if it can be metered or should be parked. In all the aerials we've seen in the past, there hasn't been really cars here. As you turn in, it kind of, I don't know what's trying to do last one.
And they're not gonna see.
Yeah, they're not gonna see it anyway, so, I'm just kind of using the cursor. That one space right there, I would have to check and see. Kevin, do you know, is that a concern, having that? I mean, I know it's a 5th metered space, but is it a parkable, safe space?
Code requires that any on-street parking be 25 feet from an intersection.
Okay, so we can check that. I think it's, to me, it looks pretty close, that's why it's, and the other space over here is further back when it starts. So, but there is a meter here, so potentially there might be 4 spaces, that are actually in this location that's metered. All that being said, we can shift the location of all these spaces and continue to keep those 4 spaces. We can have an exhibit created to kind of show that, metering to stay in place. To Kevin's point of whether we have a curb billets or not, we could also, if it's wanted, by the planning commission, we could have more of a, straight in, not having it billeted. I don't know if that'll really help too much when it comes to the parking aspects of it, because you can see it across the street. They also still shy away from the entrances when they do their metered parking, just so that people won't put the car when they turn out. But, that's something that we can work with DPW and coordinate, as we go through the rest of the planning process, and coordination when it comes to the entrance. Kind of the last thing too, I mean, right now, we're having 1 space more than is required. The amount of employees for the nail salon and the restaurant, as long as there's 7, employees will be parking, will be safe in that location where we need doing employee parking. But there's also, this location is kind of unique in the situation, the fact that it's very close to the courthouse, so it's encouraging the walkability to a restaurant type utilization use. And additionally, we are very close to municipal parking lot, which is right across the street. So, even in, what we don't believe will be a situation, but even should some situation arise where there is parking issues, we have municipal parking nearby, there's 1 street parking that's nearby, and we believe a lot of the patrons are going to be coming from nearby locations where we're encouraging that walkability aspect.
Sir,
Sorry.
have you looked at the possibility of share parking with some of the local businesses and then, like, say Cortland Hardware or something like that?
So, we haven't ventured down that road only because we could need it on our site. We thought that it was best to show parking at one site before we go off-site for that purpose. Because if we don't provide the parking on-site, then we're basically just removing the shared parking aspect of it. And, with having 2 separate businesses on this location, there's very likely going to be at least 7 employees operating between a host, cook, nail, I don't know the name for nail artists, but people that do that. So we don't think that there's really going to be too much of a problem when it comes to the employee parking being utilized. And I don't know how much, I've spent time in Vietnam. It's a very relatively quick dish that you have it, and then you kind of move on. It's on the fast casual-ish side of things. It still is a restaurant, but if you're focusing on that type of dish, it's just, you're not at a long sit-down dining type of situation, so you're gonna have more in and outside that operation. So that's the parking situation. Can you go over some of the other modifications we're gonna do for homogeneous aspects?
But I have a question on the parking, the tandem aspect. So you have the 8 and you have the 8. I don't understand, are you saying that the one section of 8 are going to be employees and then the other 8 are available?
Correct, yes. So the back section here would be employees, so they come in before the store opens, and then they would be generated when everything opens. Or when, depending on the nail salon, when their appointment ends, they're not needed anymore there. And then same with the restaurant, usually come in before shows and then after they close. So that's what the intention is. We only need 7 stacked spaces. We need 7 spaces stacked. We went all 8 just because of consistency.
How do you control that, though? I'm just curious.
We would have signage, so the employee parking, like we could stripe it all around there. Either signage or striping, either or.
I mean, if I pulled in, I usually don't block a car in. I mean, stack parking, I'm not a big fan of stack parking in businesses. To me, it's a driveway, yes, that even causes problems. You gotta get somebody to come move the car so you can get out. I'm just not a big fan of stack parking. I'd like to see a different option, but
The
that's
other
me.
option would be to basically not provide that and have to share provide, we just, because of the lot size, there's just no way to kind of get all your circulation and everything around there. So if we didn't stack it, basically we would just be eliminating 8 available parking spaces. So that was why we kind of opted for the employee parking in the rear and then having patrons.
Well, I get the idea, and it sounds good on paper, seriously. I mean, it does. I mean, they're parked there, you don't have to worry about them, but it's other people coming in, or say the employee's not there yet, somebody decides to park there, and, I mean, the enforcement, monitoring it and enforcing it seems to be an issue to me.
We could always have some type of chain set up where we would just put it across there, and then when an employee's coming in the park, we could drop the chain and have them pull it. That's, you know, there's ways that we can control it. Our thought was just signage, but there's more concern about, people not reading signs than we.
People don't
we
read
know
stop
better.
signs in Bel Air either, so. I get you, yeah. I
There's
get what
things
you're
we
trying to
can
do, and I
providing
think
it's a problem.
it sounds good, but.
Yeah. The other part too is it's a relative, it's not like it's a large store, so if someone is blocked in, in that unlikely case, it's always good, just walk in.
I'm glad you addressed the moving the building back, so it doesn't, that gives the attention to the historical building as well. But did you address the town architect's viewpoints on the coloring and, I'll start there.
Yes, so that's Dan, who's the architect, so I'm
Okay.
gonna talk about colors.
Okay.
That's not the.
So,
Dan, if you'll give your name and address first, please.
Dan Woke, 5 South Main Street.
You, spell your name, sir? Wolf?
Woke, like you woke up,
Yep.
W-O-K-E. So, when we originally started this, project, we met with the owners of 22 North Pond Street to discuss with them about the architecture, the colors, materials that they like. And they like the architecture style of Bel Air. So, with that in mind, and they like the construction of projects that are currently going on, within the town limits, we decided to kind of stick with that color palette, with the bricks, some of the black trim design, and some of the hard plank siding, similar to that next door. So that's kind of how we proceeded with this. So we have, the standard black trim, the brick, like I said, and the hard plank siding. Again, this is the first submission with the town architect had reviewed, which again, he had concerns of some of the neighboring property, particularly that historical property next door. And the owners wanted to North Pond. We actually had a meeting with the owner of the property next door, 108, to discuss with them the building, hear his concerns as well, which he has very similar concerns as the town architect had, which with regards to the building being pushed a little too far forward, kind of blocking his building, which site has since addressed, and we're going to be pushing the building back. Had some concerns with some of the colors being a little overpowering of the historical building. So we did take that into consideration, and we did make some revisions to the plans based on the architecture's comments as well as the neighbor. So with that, we went ahead, we looked at particularly the roofing structure next door, which is kind of a copper color. How can we incorporate that into this new design? So we removed the black, heavy, more commercialized, modern canopies.
To interrupt, these are new revised plans that they're presenting to you, which have not been looked at by the architecture consultant.
So they have not been, that's why presenting this. Now, for the architect, we're going to submit those to the architect to review, but we hadn't went ahead and made those revisions based on those changes and discussions with the owner. So I'd like to present that to you now, if that's okay.
Yes.
So we went ahead and looked at the metal, stainless steel metal roof that's currently in the historical building next door. We took that color design and did canopies at the front entrances to keep space now. So now, again, we're mimicking that historical construction next door to help bring some of that architecture together. We're going to use some of the hardy plank siding to match the neighboring siding as well to help bring some of the color back to the building. We also lightened up the cornice of the building, going from a heavy black to more of a white trim. And again, that's going to help make it a little better took a lot of those comments to, and concerns from the town architect and made those revisions. Along with, issues with regarding the rear of the building, which is really the parking lot side, and concerns with pedestrians and glass. We removed the glass at the rear of the building, so now it's more of an employee entrance for deliveries and stuff like that for the restaurant and nail salon. It helps promote the pedestrian walkway to the front of the building off of Bond Street. So there's the revised rendering. Again, to help lighten the building up, help mimic the historic building next door.
This
Sir?
is, pardon me for interrupting, and I appreciate the response that you're making with the neighbors, and I note that the date of the architect's letter was April 24th, so you didn't get a lot of time.
Yeah, we did get a lot of time, but we wanted to make sure.
But
we-
what I'm seeing is on a couple of fronts, and certainly all of this looks very good, but that would need to be part of a revised submission, not something we could work on tonight, one way or the other. And there are other issues that have arisen to do with the stacked parking. I'm not too worried about that, but clearly Commissioner Hines, that's on his mind. But that's, in my mind, more of an internal thing. The landscape buffering to the church is important. The loading and unloading, and then these mysterious parking space issues that would be, I really think, your best best to resolve those without having to eliminate meters. Then you have to go through all of this and then go to the town board and hope they say, yeah, well, they either are or they aren't ready to do the meters. It's an exciting submission. I really would love to see this. I don't live far from there, and I think it would be really good. And I imagine the developer of the apartments up the street, he's building a number of high-end apartments there, and I would think, yeah, this would be a nice place for his tenants to be able to walk down and have lunch or dinner, whatever, and get their nails done. But you're also in a neighborhood that is, we're trying to elevate the neighborhood, and certainly starting with the with those apartments up there, and we already have the little park there that's already a nice addition. And this particular corner, you've got a historic house next door, then that's very important to us. And then the church behind you, I don't know if it has a historic designation of one kind or another, but it is historic, and it's an important part of our community. So we want this to look very good and to fit into the neighborhood with those two structures. And that's what would probably have a very good chance to make it through this process, at least to get my support and encouragement. But I would like you to, with your approval, to table this for at least for a month or so, work with the staff, get some of these issues resolved, show us a revised plan for what the building's gonna look like, and let that go through Mr. Edmead's scrutiny. I put a lot of value on what he says on any number of properties. I have no talent of that at all myself. So when he says it's good, then that's good enough for me. And when he says it's not, then that's significant for me. So if you all are understanding of that and think that's the best way to work, I would, barring anything from the rest of us, that's what I'd like to see done.
I totally agree. It would have to go through another review, but it's encouraging seeing that you're approaching and considering the issues that have been brought up.
I think it would be an outstanding addition to the town and to the neighborhood. And
Right.
But needs to be something we can all be proud of and that fits in with, you're putting a nice modern building into a very historic block there.
Mhm.
That takes some special skill, and then there's all these peripheral issues because of the space. And it's only so big of a lot and it can't grow, so.
Madam Chair, if the members of the board are ready to vote, there was a couple other legal issues with respect to this application I wanted to point out to you guys.
Oh, you still have to hear from
Yes,
the
we have
public.
from the public.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to point this out too, at least it's on the record. There may be an encroachment on the one side adjacent to the church. There appears to be some sort of depiction of rocks or landscaping or something. So the applicant needs to ensure that there's no encroachment I don't like encroachments, causes legal issues. The second thing is with respect to the removal of the parking spaces and the permission of the board. It's not clear to me exactly what the applicant is proposing, but there are two designations here. One is covered under the charter, 401, which is the town board has the right to designate areas for metered parking. The second is all of the spaces on that spot.
Sorry.
That's okay. All of the spaces on Alice Ann, there's a second designation that is the power of the board, and that's 3 hours. So if they're proposing on removing parking spots for entrances, and obviously the town has to allow property owners to gain access to their property, so I'm certainly not suggesting that it would be a no, but it's just a process that they need to submit a request to have the 3-hour removal removed, because that's under another section of the code. And if they're removing the metered parking spaces, then they need to ask permission to remove the meters as well. So there's 2 requests if any parking spaces are going to be removed. It's those 2. So I just wanted to point those things out before, you know, we got too far down the line and I forgot.
Thank you, thank you. And you understand her
Yes.
issues? Okay. Thank you. How many of you wish to speak, or could you let us know?
Is the applicant
Uh,
on?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, not completely.
So just kind of one, I guess, point of clarity, and I asked for both of those sort of, but as it comes to the stacked parking portion of it, I don't know if it's a flavor of the room, just to make sure that what I want to avoid is we address all these comments and then we come back to the stacked parking and have it, that becomes an issue. It seems like most of the comments, I think, from staff, we're in agreement with, we can make the changes, it's really easy and straightforward. The stacked parking piece, if it's not gonna be okay, then we would have to obviously go down the line and venture into other aspects. So I don't know what,
I can only speak for me, and I don't necessarily disagree with Commissioner Hines on this, but if somebody doesn't feel comfortable in stacked parking, they won't go there. They'll go someplace else. So I wouldn't hold you up over that, would be my own personal.
and I just wanna make sure I respect everyone's time next time we come in, that we're not.
Right, I understand
having to go
completely.
back
Mhm.
again
Yep.
if there was, if that is
I don't know how anybody else.
Would you
feels.
like me to?
It's
can
up
go on
to
record
you,
and
but I
say
think
that
one of the
as
things
well.
that you need to do is to hear from everybody
Yeah.
And that's
before you
Right.
start to
I just wanted
discuss.
Hear from everybody.
Okay.
When you guys are debating or something like that, just so we can know whether we pursue other avenues or if you guys are comfortable with that, that would be the thing I think that I just
Yep.
want to make sure.
Okay, well, we can discuss that after. Would any of the public wish to speak? Could you let us know how many of you wish to speak? Wayne? Okay.
Put that TV.
How many in total? We're trying to determine time-wise. All right, so there will be 3 additional people?
Looks like 4.
It looks like 4. You want to time it? Yeah. Okay, so just for clarification, Madam Chair has asked me to keep time. Each speaker in opposition or support, doesn't matter, will be given 3 minutes time in order to address the board or any issues. I'll call it at 2 minutes. Okay? I won't do the Michael Krantz blasting for you, Mike.
Kevin does that just to throw me off. Anyway, good evening, everyone. My name is Wayne Goddard. I'm the owner of 108 Wood Bond Street, as well as 128 Wood Bond, 130 Wood Bond, 30 East Broadway, and a bunch of stuff on Office Street. I met with the owners, and I met with Tom, and I actually use these guys for my projects as well, and I consider these Tom and Dan to be my friends. I support the project. I just am opposed to the current architectural iteration of it. I would like to work with Tom and Dan to create a facade on the building. What I see is a building that has a similar facade as mine that we went away from Wood Bond and has a gable end, and we can pull some of the pitch of the roof and the porches and the Anderson windows, and we have commercial products that we use on some of our projects. Most recently, the Stark and Keenan building, where we were able to use a commercial door that actually looks like a historic wood door and has the glass. And we actually are doing the clerk's office along there, 20
Office Street. And we can put a big piece of storefront glass in there that looks historic, so they can continue to have the same functionality of the building that they want to do it. It's just going to look a lot older. It's
2 minutes, Wayne.
more historic. So my concerns are the dumpster placement. I wish they could push it down a little bit further because I'm concerned that if we don't require them to have a masonry dumpster with a brick facade on it, that it's going to look junky, and that's going to be a very prominent view coming out of my parking lot at 108 North Bond, as well as the Sterling Bond, as well as all the outside dining that is on the end cap. So I think we need to address that, and I've spoken with them, and they seem willing to do that. We want to make sure that there's a good pedestrian walkway between Bond Street and you get to the rear of their building, if that's what they're going to use. Looks like we reoriented that a little bit. But what I was proposing to do, and I share the cost on this, is put a nice brick paver sidewalk between my building and their building, so that there's a nice wide walkway, similar to what you see in Annapolis or someplace like that. The setback, I was concerned about, that seems like it's been addressed.
1 minute.
I don't have any problem with the stack parking. I think it can be worked. It's not going to be as easy to work as when you guys granted it to me with the offices and the apartments, but I think it's workable. And I think that it goes into encouraging people to walk a little bit more. I would love to have people in my apartment building come down and get their nails done. I might even get my own nails done for the first time in my life. And I also think that a fast casual like food or a restaurant or something like that would be a great addition, and people can get the product, they can walk down to the pocket park and they can enjoy it. My only concern is I want a really high-quality architectural facade that's consistent with what we're doing in that corridor to really try to pass it up. We've invested almost $27 million in about a 5-block area, and we believe that there's palatable inertia of what we're doing, and this project can be a testament to that. And I want to work with these guys to make that happen, and I think we can. Thank you.
Hold on 1 second, Mr. Goddard. What do you think about the new change in coloring?
The change in the color is good, but I would suggest.
I know you're talking design, but I'm trying to understand their change in color. Is that acceptable, or
Well,
is
the
that?
change in the colors is moving in the right direction. First of all, I'll say, it's a nice looking building, it's just in the wrong location. Like, if you're gonna, like, that building, in fact, I think Tom and Dan told me that they looked at my building to try to get some design cues off of it, which I'm very flattering, and the invitation is seriously flattering. But in this case, I think that if you do lighten it up, I don't think you should have the exact same color, but there's a wide array of those classic hardy board siding colors that I'd like to work with them. You can go with the tan. I did what's called a mist over on Broadway. We did a green over at the Stark and Keenan building. I think maybe we introduce one of those different colors, and then we have a different kind of shingle. Instead of using maybe the clapboards, we have a combination of clapboards, and then some of the scallop ones like we did over on the back side of Broadway, and then some freeze boards to break it up. I think that with a molding package and a gable like that, and some faux windows above like that, like I said, Dan's on my project on Broadway almost every day. Unfortunately, it costs me a lot of money, but that's okay. But we can make it all work together. I think if they come back in, and like I said, I'm willing to work with you guys. I love the idea. I love your story. I love that you came to America and you started the business, and that is sort of what makes this town great. But I think it just needs to be tweaked a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next speaker, please. If you'll state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Deeren. I live in,
Bring the microphone down.
and just not, when you're giving your name, please spell your last name. Okay, Dieren. I live at 2016 Brady Drive in Forest Hill, Maryland. I've been a realtor for 25 years in Bel Air. I love Bel Air. I love the way the downtown has come alive in the last 20 years. And I just want to say that Jenny and Danny are the nicest people you will ever meet. They're great parents. They have a family. They care about their customers, their community, and I think they would be an absolute great asset to have in downtown Bel Air. And the facade, I liked it. I thought it looked great. I mean, I'm sure that you'll have to work out some of the particulars on the architecture and all of that. But I think that this is something that the downtown area could really benefit from. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to go next?
went through all the schools, so definitely entrenched. I've been going to Danny and Jenny for nails for probably 10 years now. Jenny is an artist. If you can imagine doing artwork on a little teeny landscape this big, she can do it. It's amazing. She's a real asset to the community, and so is Danny. Best pedicure ever. But more than that, they are the hardest working people I think I've ever met in my life. They are at the shop 7 days a week, all day. If a client needs to come in at a different time, they will adjust their hours to come. If they have to bring the kids to the shop, they will bring the kids to the shop to make everything work. So, and their level of attention to detail and desire to do the right thing all the time speaks highly of their character. So they would be a huge asset to Bel Air, downtown Bel Air. As far as the facade, I think they did a great job right on the bat. It really suits the nature of the restaurant and the nail salon. I'm sure that even the couple of adjustments they've already made would make it blend in very nicely in that area. I don't think that you have to have exactly the same facade on every single building. It's not the character. of Bel Air.
1 minute.
We're a mixture here. But thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lisa Sparkman. I cannot hear you at all. Well, that's never been said.
Lisa, I know you can talk louder than that.
Lisa Sparkman, S-P-A-R-K-M-A-N. Thank you. Sure. I am a business owner in Bel Air myself. I have Jolie Styling Boutique at the corner, Woodford and Maitland. And I have known these lovely people since they started, probably, right? I started and brought my daughter, and we've been there ever since, and I have a hair salon. I don't even go to my own place, right? I'm gonna probably say a lot of the same things that Sue just said. They are truly, myself included, the hardest working people I've ever known. The integrity that they have for everything they do, I think is what's needed for successful business. What they will do for the clients, and I know they'll do it
2
the
minutes.
same.
2 minutes.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? Already? For the restaurant, I'm sure will be the same. And I'm excited about the restaurant because I think we need something like that here, a little different. You know, we never have enough restaurants in Bel Air, and it would be something a little special and different. And concerning the facade, I have to say what Sue said. I think we should welcome a little something different to each person's style while still maintaining the fluid, architectural, whatever that you want to call it, with everything else as long as it goes together. I thought what they had was lovely. I'm all for it. I hope everybody else is too. They're just wonderful people. I know will be a success. I just know it.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Oh,
Near you either. It's not
I don't think that mic is working,
Oh,
Kev.
When you hear Liz speak, she's using the microphone.
Yes.
So she's the only.
That's why I said I knew Lisa.
Yours works.
Uh-huh.
The light's on, so I can't figure out why it's not working.
Yeah.
It's Nathan Booth,
Nathan
135.
Booth?
Yes, B-O-O-T-H, 135 Wallace Street, Bel Air, Maryland. So I'm not opposed for the project at all. I just want to share a couple concerns. I live 1 block away from the project, and I used to live directly on Alice Main Street when I was building my first one down. I do like the aesthetic of the building. I don't think it fits with the character and integrity of downtown. And in my thought process, we have to keep in mind other small towns like Alexandria, things like that. If we really want the tourism, then it seems like starting to come to a revival
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Okay. All right, thank you. So we're going to ask to table this until,
Sure, I do have a couple questions for
Mhm.
Mr. Woke, if he has a second. I want to make sure that what the architectural consultant has written, that Frederick Ward is in agreement with. All the fiber cement siding should match the color of the siding of the adjacent historic structure. You're okay with that?
Yeah, we have that.
I don't know what I just
When we
did
say
there.
match, do we mean color or do we mean style?
Um,
Because why would we want two yellow buildings together?
Well, that's what they're saying, should match the color. Because that's one of the requirements of the historic thing, is the
understand that.
color of materials. And it's up to you, but what I'm trying to get is
No,
that whether or not
I
they
hear-
agree
I
with
hear-
they.
I hear what you're saying, and I understand that, and that was going to be one of my questions when it said the matching style and mass and things like that, like the 108, the 108 building, that looks like it's about 100 square feet on what, 5,000 square foot lot? So that's about 20%. This building here is 20% of the lot size as well, so massing, I mean,
Mhm.
apples to apples, they're the same massing size, it's difference in colors. Now, I get the aspect that you need the same styling, but from a color standpoint,
Yeah,
when they,
original color was like a cream color.
well, when they came back in this second iteration with the yellow up top and then the red, I mean, that's the same colors in the other thing, does it,
Can you make sure you're,
I'm on.
yeah, okay.
No, I mean, but I'm just saying, does it have to be all yellow and a
It-
red roof, or does it?
It's your decision on that. What I'm trying to get is an understanding of what the architectural consultant has said and whether or not Frederick Ward agrees with it.
Yeah.
If they don't, fine, then that can be something that's all I'm trying to get
Well, I
get straight.
guess what I'm saying is, when I see the yellow and the red that they came with tonight, that seems to fulfill the coloring. I guess I'm just trying to understand, how much of the coloring, does it need to be all?
It's up to you.
Well, again,
Yeah,
it
so
says,
we're asking what you would approve. Previously, we had the cream color, and then, Mr. Edmonds said that it should match the neighboring, so it's more of a yellowish color. We had more of a cream color in the original.
I get that,
So,
but, I mean, I look at cream and yellow, and it looks, they're about the same, but my point being is, tonight we heard from Mr. Goddard, he wants to have peaked roof lines and things like that, so that's gonna personally, that's gonna make him personally happy. Does that, I could care less. I think the building looks very nice the way it was designed the first time. I thought it was too dark with all the black, which you came back with tonight, made a huge difference with the way the styling is, but based on,
Is it possible, Kate, can you bring up your laptop so you can bring up, I'm confused as to what fiber cement siding is and whether or not that is changing in color. That's my concern.
is it?
well, that's
Is it?
what I was getting at. They use hardy board next door, that's what I'm getting at with the style, is not the color, but the style of what.
Whether something is going to be lap siding
Right.
or something else. I'm just trying to, find out, because this is what we're
Right.
going to use.
Mhm.
So if there are parts in there that the Frederick Ward disagrees with, I need to make sure that that's discussed.
Well, but of course, Mr. Edmead's review was based on the original submission, not the
Yes.
revised
Mm, right.
submission, so
So we
I think
still-
for purposes of us that, and I will say this, that from my standpoint, I would put a very high value on how he reviews the second one, more so than, any of the public participation and recommendations tonight. That was fine, but this is who we hired to, convince us
so
that,
you can come back with
yeah.
revisions and changes.
Okay, maybe I can make this a little bit easier. Anything in here you disagree with?
No.
Okay,
There's nothing that we in disagreement.
all right.
Kevin, I think there needs to be one clarification point. Frederick Ward has proffered, if you will, that they will agree to set the building back off of Bond 7 feet. But the architect said that the building should fall in line with the porch of 108 North Bond. I don't know, he didn't give a footage, you know what I mean, how far back. They're saying 7 feet, so I don't know if that brings that, if you guys are okay with that, if you want that, does that fall in line?
But
Does that
how
make
will that
sense?
affect the back of the building, though? That's where your parking is, and you got, with the stack, but you also got parking right behind the building, and you have to
Correct,
have
but they said they
24
could do
feet
that.
between the parking spaces.
Yeah, they said they could do that.
I-
I mean, I don't know what that
I
means.
think that when, because I looked at that even before we got the architectural consultant's comments and made that same suggestion that it be pushed back.
Yeah,
My suggestion was 5 feet.
okay.
But it, at this point, what you're trying to do is you're trying to, they don't have to be exactly matching. They just need to respect each other and
Yeah.
have a similar relationship to the road. So.
It's a two different measurements, 7
that
feet
is- That's up to
porch.
Frederick Ward to
Yeah.
decide what's appropriate when they
Yeah,
resubmit.
we have the roofs, so it doesn't affect.
Okay.
And the landscaping of giving a vegetation buffer between the church, have you addressed that as well? Or will that be addressed?
That will be addressed.
Okay.
Need to get-
Good, all right,
That'll be addressed.
Okay.
okay.
One last question I've got is, how is this development going to be serviced? How is things going to be delivered there?
Loading and unloading.
Right, loading and unloading. I mean, are there 18-wheelers delivering? Is this box trucks? That's the question I've got.
Smaller box trucks, yeah.
Okay.
No 18-wheelers, no larger vehicles that you would see in these across the front. These smaller box trucks, freezer trucks.
Okay.
On the smaller side.
I think operationally, and we've done this, I believe, on other sites where they would just have to come in during off hours to load and unload any type of.
Just so everybody's aware, you cannot use Alice Ann Street to load or unload. You remember when we put Raising Cane's through
Yeah, but-
hell?
But Cortland offloads
That's what
pallet
we're doing
loads
here.
of, Cortland offloads pallet loads of,
Cortland's been there
I know,
forever.
I'm just saying. I agree. I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying.
So, because of the parallel parking along there, it would be. I
Difficult.
guess Cortland does,
Yeah.
I've never paid attention to them.
Well, they're
Loading,
like,
unloading.
they're doing like 7 o'clock in the morning.
I used
so.
to work there, I used to unload in the back lot with the forklift. They
Right.
used to right back where the shop was when I was there.
This big
Yeah.
configuration, to answer your question, it's gonna be smaller.
Smaller box trucks,
Yeah,
which
smaller
will
box
work
trucks,
very
but-
nice. No 18-wheelers.
No, no
Okay.
18-wheelers.
Under the, one piece I hadn't heard addressed that came from Mr. Edmeades was the mechanical equipment is not shown if it's located on the roof. Where do we,
Yeah, it'll probably be located on the roof.
okay,
And we
so
do
in
have,
other words,
we do have the parapets to help block that.
you're aware of that issue with
Yeah, we
his
already had, we
original?
just
Got
not
it.
that far along the
Okay.
design to have the.
Yeah, and
equipment yet, so.
It didn't, the timeframe couldn't have been too good for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we got it one day.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
So the only thing I think I've got is just how you guys want to decide on tandem parking. I know I was not happy with it even when it was on standard on bond.
No, I mean,
So, but you guys, it's your decision.
I didn't like it on standard on bond, but they had a way to work around it.
Well, that was my point, can you?
Pretty much the same way
Yeah.
with employees are going to park there and the other people who park behind them. So if that's what they choose to do here, then I mean, I get it. It's what they have to live with, so
Okay.
I have no problem with it.
Jimmy,
Yeah,
you- are
if they
you
can
accepting?
control it and monitor it, that's the point I was getting at. I mean, I understand, like I said, on paper, it looks really great. It's a great idea, your police park there, no problem. But how you gonna control it and monitor it, make sure,
I would
you know.
only ever have to get pinned in there one time, and then I would vote with my feet.
Oh, yeah,
That's why I'm not worried about the issue, I mean,
Yeah.
for me personally.
Like you
it's
said, possibly putting the chain across it maybe, and it with signage on it, okay, parking, You know, I wouldn't park in stack parking because I wouldn't want to block somebody in.
We'll be
I
walking
would-
up there, right, Jimmy? We're gonna shuffle up.
We're
there.
walking, right.
We're in the neighborhood.
Okay, and Peter, how do you feel?
Yeah, you know, I haven't asked the question yet, but what I was concerned about is what days is the restaurant going to be open? 7 days a week? I know the food is 9 to 9 and the salon is 10 to 7, but we don't know what days. Yes, what?
They're hardworking
7
people. It
oh,
was
open
reinforced. They
7
never take a
days.
day off.
Right. So, you know, for instance, on Sunday, you're dealing with the church. And as you move up to the church, well, there's permit parking, but I think there's a 3-hour limit parking there right in front of the church.
Yes.
So, you know, if your parking lot is full and the meters are full and people are not gonna be able to park up Alice Ann because they don't have permits, I mean, they probably will, you know, unless somebody gets mad and, you know, calls the cops. But, you know, I'm all for it. It's just that, the parking, but then again, I was thinking, for instance, like Sean Boland's. I mean, you've got more parking than Sean Boland's, and people just park wherever they can find a parking space. But it's a popular place because, you know, the food and the spirit and everything, so, I think it can work. Now, are we gonna table this?
That
That's
will
up
be
to
my
you.
recommendation
Right,
when we get done.
Right, well, I wasn't
with
sure,
conversation.
because
Yeah, I
Kevin
think
said,
there's
well,
lots
we've
to be
talked
done.
about everything, blah, 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 but I think we need to see it on paper again.
And another
Another
review
revision, yeah.
by the
Yeah, I kind of like the new
architect.
design, and
Yeah.
I agree with what Mr. Goddard said. Your original design looked great, but it don't fit there, in my opinion. But the redesign, you know, it was a great design, but the redesign looks good to me. That's my opinion, but
And you might find
I
that,
know it has to go through formality with the architect.
Is
Yeah.
there any thoughts on the enclosure around the refuse recycling?
yes.
That was something that Mr. Goddard brought up. As long as there's something that matches the architecture, it doesn't necessarily, in our view, and it doesn't have to match in materials.
They've got a brick one, what?
Yeah.
Oh, they do, okay.
What better,
Right.
what better,
Well, then there you go. Yeah.
Pretty classy trash corral.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, another good thing with that is, you know, hearing his concerns, it provides a good barrier. And again, it's matching some of the, and the reason we went with some of the architecture we had, not just the part of the siding, is we wanted to add a little more architecture to the building.
Mhm.
Right, so we pulled some of the downtown Bel Air architecture with the brick, some of the black, that we're seeing more and more of. That's what we're trying to bring into this location. We'll still try to keep some of that architect siding. We don't want the building to be too tall, so we're, you know, pretty much the same height as the neighboring building as well. But we do see the concerns of pushing it back and things like that. But with the trash, corral, again, we heard his concerns, and this provides a more secure area as well, so now the trash truck's coming in, there's a more controlled area.
Yeah, and you know, the gentleman who was here who lives right near there, he better get used to like a 4:30 in the morning trash pickup. Because whoever the commercial contractor is, he's gonna look at this parking and say, there's no way we can get in there during the day, you know, when the employees and the customers are there, so. Generally in Bel Air, they start picking up the trash around 4:30 in the morning. You know, it's a cacophony of emptying dumpsters.
Now,
That's when they
this
start.
is when you when you see this again, it is within 500 feet of residential, which means the trash can't be picked up until after 7. But
Kevin.
you can waive that if you wish.
Yeah, well, I think we should. I just don't see how a trash truck's gonna get in there to, like I say, after 9 o'clock in the morning. Well, they're through by 9 o'clock anyway, mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm being a little facetious, but that's the truth. That's when they start, right now they're sleeping with the windows open, and at 4:30 in the morning, you can hear them start dumping.
I heard it in my house.
Yep, so, That's the way it is.
I-
Do you
I
need
can
any
hear 'em
more
over my
direction
house,
from
yeah.
us? I know you're gonna be working with staff on lots of.
I do have
parts
a
of
couple
this.
other questions.
Oh,
I'm
you
so
do?
sorry.
Oh, great.
Is there going to be a grease trap?
More than likely,
Yes. Where's that going to be located?
we might have to locate that.
Okay. You already have stormwater in the parking lot. So I'm just so you know.
Yeah, we'd have to look at it, we'd have to see their full service.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we just have, that's something we have to, we're not that far into the design yet to determine what we should have as size and location yet. Because if we do have the, some of the greenery in the back, we could possibly provide for it.
Are you going to have area lighting? Meaning, lights that are lighting the parking lot? I know you submitted a photometric plan and there's no spillover, but one thing I didn't see was the height of the poles. Okay, just, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it has been on there, but I just haven't seen it, so.
Yeah, and if we're gonna have, fixtures on the building,
Oh, fixtures on, there's fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna have fixtures on.
All right,
How
that's all I
about
have.
the parking
sorry.
lot, though?
Yeah, so we'll put some wall packs on the backside. To avoid any light poles, especially that.
Yeah, I'd like to avoid the light poles.
Okay, very good. All right, Phil?
Move the submission for 102 Bond Street be tabled.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Yes.
Can I just, can
Yes.
you say continued? Because
Continued.
tabled says that the hearing is closed. So
Good
they're
point.
going to be resubmitting. And
Mhm.
please say that they're going to submit based on the recommendations in the staff report. That gives them direction.
Okay.
Sorry.
No,
Why-
no,
Why do
no,
we
no,
want to
good
have
point.
more public hearing?
Well, they're gonna have
No.
to submit new
Yeah.
information, so therefore the public's gotta be present to hear.
All right. Amend the motion. What did you want?
To continue.
Continue it to continue.
Continue the hearing
Continued rather than tabled, and
to allow them to review
Address.
comments in the staff report.
subject to comments in the staff report.
And you second it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
And just because we're saying continued, doesn't mean we don't like your plan.
We'll
I
have
happen-
it.
I happen to like it, and I can't wait for you guys to get in here, but we just have to make sure the i's are dotted and the
Yeah.
t's are crossed.
And the second time around is not nearly as bad as this.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to continue this meeting, so if you could please wait for your conversations until you have exited the building, please. All right.
Okay.
Move on to the resolution proposal.
Nobody
Any
wants to
bathroom
stay
break,
for
breaks?
the-
Yeah.
I want to know about the shooting range.
Nobody wants to stay for the
Look at all
shooting
that
range.
coffee, I'm sure.
I wouldn't mind taking that
I
break,
know.
too.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you very much. Best of everything.
I'm gonna take that break as well.
Gotta
Okay.
admit, I really do love these foods.
My gosh.
I'm not trying to.
7
get
days,
into it.
all those ha-
People
And
are-
you know, I would love to have known their connection with the Vietnam War and how that, happened and so forth. I'm sure they're walking out totally confused, or maybe it doesn't make sense to them, so they're fine with it.
Oh. Right. Now, hard work is part of their ethic, that's for sure. No, I just, I have a thing about tandem parking, that's right. Right.
I don't know why they couldn't make some kind of an arrangement with the church. We won't open on
Right.
Sundays until, I hope they'll consider that. We're all gonna go.
Well, that is something that,
curb cuts already.
Yeah.
So you're gonna eliminate either one or put them together, so whatever those spaces are.
On-street parking?
Yeah.
So whatever
That's
those,
something they gotta answer.
but whatever those spaces,
Okay, I was missing something.
but whatever those,
Great answer.
but whatever those spaces are that they're going to, like, if they have two 10-foot spaces right now, and they eliminate both of those and just open
It
one
gives them a
20
space.
and open up one 20-foot space, what difference is it than it already is right now?
They just have to show it on the
Right,
plan.
yeah.
What they're doing, because they said in the site plan, it says 4 spaces to be eliminated, we're like,
That'll
which
be-
ones?
They'll work that with scale.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you know.
No, they think they need to do that. They know that.
What is it? I really don't know. What are we doing? Are we doing something? No?
As far as the Sundays, you know, we,
You know
Well,
what's
the
going
other,
on.
that's what they do.
well, the
And Aberdeen,
Baltimore Colts couldn't start their games until 2 p.m. because it was interfered with church parking.
Right.
Really? The whole rest of the week was 1 p.m., but not Baltimore. It was crazy. Like
That's
all
why we never got a national game.
All right.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
Let's see.
This is,
Believe me.
I added this very late, and I do apologize for that. It was just kind of finalized on Tuesday night at a work session at the town board. We had someone come in several weeks ago, months ago, looking to establish a shooting range and a gun shop. Gun shop is permitted by right. Those are treated as specialty retail. But we didn't have anything in the code that not only was shooting range, but is even close to a shooting range. So we couldn't really answer their, give them an allowance, and anything that's not in the code is considered prohibited. So the town board has looked at establishing the use, and the use would be in the B3 and B3A.
Which is where?
And it would be by special exception only.
B3, B3A, approximately what areas would that cover?
That is where all the shopping centers are, Four Corners at 24 and Route 1. And then B3 kind of basically runs up Baltimore Pike.
Okay.
And then it does also go down Bond Street, as you saw tonight. They're B3. But, yeah, they were looking at going into a place along Baltimore Pike. But anyway, I think they probably won't be back, but
How
there
did-
probably another one's coming,
How
I'm
did we
sure.
get axe throwing cleared? Where did they fit?
That one was considered an amusement.
This would not
It
be?
probably should, well, this one it should probably be somewhat close to this, although
I mean,
what we're doing is archery and
And I'm
guns.
all for this, I have no
Yeah.
problem with it, but I'm thinking, well, we proved that, well, how different is this than that?
And this is in the amusement category, but, yeah, it's,
Do you feel like you need something specific for this?
yeah.
It sounded to me in reading it too, that the Court of Appeals really has much more control over,
This doesn't even come to you probably unless they build a building.
yeah, okay.
But the thing that we were looking at is our amusement center definition is way, way out of touch. It's basically, remember when people used to put all the arcade games into buildings?
Yeah.
Well, they don't do that anymore. They did that when I was a kid, but
You
not
can have it-
anymore.
You can have it in your TV or your computer.
That's
Or
right,
your phone.
They're on their phone.
Yeah.
I see the
So
kids at the gym.
that
So they call
definition,
that-
actually, we should include that in here, but it's
For
probably a little late.
for amending it or revising it?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it's not related, so that's one of the problems. We just passed another policy to make sure that anything is related. Yes, sir.
I had two concerns with this. I'm all for a shooting range, gun shop. I don't have no problem with that at all. But 300 feet from a school, that's a football field.
Yeah.
We would have a shooting range possibly next to a school, not that that's gonna happen. And 100 feet from residents,
You
I
think
would
that's,
think that'd be way farther away from a school.
But it's all enclosed.
Well, I get that, but you get some
Does that mean school
some crazed
building
person
or
that goes
school
out of there with a
grounds?
gun,
School building, school
yeah,
building.
it's
I
too
mean,
close
but a
to a
liquor
school,
store
in my
needs to be, what,
opinion.
1,000 feet, right?
I just think that's
Yeah.
a bad idea.
That was taken from what we have for amusement center. That distance is the same, but if you would recommend something more,
I wouldn't recommend it being anywhere near a school.
Okay,
I,
is there a bigger setback or?
like 500 feet?
What's the liquor store?
1,000?
What's the liquor store setback, 1,000 feet?
I think it's 500, isn't it?
What's a liquor store? Oh, I don't have it in
yeah,
front of me.
because remember Deckers, they
Deckers,
couldn't
yeah,
put
couldn't
anything
put
in that back storage room because it was too,
Exactly,
they couldn't use the back storage room at
Kevin,
all.
I think it's 500 feet because we can only treat cannabis the same as a liquor store. And I think it's 500 feet from a school.
I think I agree with Mr. Commissioner Hines that on the matter of, it would be very good to be consistent with whatever a liquor store needs to do,
Okay.
then that would make sense that a shooting range would be not any less restrictive. Right.
Okay.
I can find that relatively quick.
And I would also see if the best, just make, process-wise, if the best route to go is a special item just for this, or if it can be more expansive of the amusement thing and take care of this and other things that we don't even know
Liquor
that might
store
come
is
up.
300 feet from a school building.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was way more.
Not saying that that's right, but
Well, there you go. That must have changed along the way then.
And I know why, in Decker's case, it went to the property line, even though the school was,
Yeah, I
it
thought-
went
yeah,
to the
Yes.
property line.
Property line, yeah.
yeah, a lot of these, it's to the property line unless it specifically says building, and this one does say building.
Mhm.
I can't remember why. I think it's one point there was a wine bar that wanted to go into town, and of course it never did. But
Okay, for another example, cannabis businesses, which is now legalized in the state of Maryland, use must be set back 500 feet from all public parks, playgrounds, recreation centers, libraries, schools, and daycare centers. So cannabis has got to be further away than a liquor store. And then we did
Interesting.
500 feet from residential uses.
they're both legal, right?
And 1,000 feet from all other cannabis, that's in the state code, 1,000 feet from all other cannabis dispensaries, you can't have them all the
That's
time.
the state's wording, though. That's their rule, where this 300 is the town's.
Basically, the only thing we added to that was the residential.
Yeah,
We added for cannabis? I didn't think we had anything for cannabis.
We have, that's in our code now.
That's in our
for
code now.
cannabis, But it matches
Oh,
the
good for
state's
us.
requirement,
Yeah.
except for the setback
Residential.
from residential.
yeah, we added the classification because the state didn't say anything about how far it could be from residential,
Good.
so,
I don't want to open my window in my house and
Yeah, right.
yeah.
smoke weed.
Mhm.
So 300 feet for liquor store, 500 feet for cannabis.
Cigarettes.
Mm.
Don't mind smelling that.
Actually, I secondhand smoked my dad's cigarettes for about 20 years, so.
We're used to that.
Yeah, I'm just curious, Aberdeen, Havre de Grace, do they have any gun ranges in town, within town limits, or?
Havre de Grace does,
Really?
but theirs is listed in their critical area zone, and it's been there forever. And I don't know whether it's public or not, but their police use it, and I think several other police departments use it. Aberdeen does not have anything in their code.
County has it in
County
ag,
does, yeah.
only in ag.
Well,
You
and
got one in
as far as
Hickory,
schools, I think
We think that
I'm-
one's a non-conforming
I've been
use, it's
to
been
the
there
Hickory.
forever, because that's not an ag, that's like VB, so.
I think I
Yeah, but
remember
like the
correctly
Hickory
that
range.
North Hereford High School had a shooting range in the school, right?
Remember those days?
Yeah.
Yeah, smoking
Probably
smoking
don't have
lounges
it
too.
anymore, but that's what.
I will say, of all the research that both Liz and I looked at, most people were sidestepping
Yeah.
this. Most, when I say people, most jurisdictions, counties, municipalities
Well,
were
Let me
sidestepping.
ask you this question. How do we get around having a shooting range in town when it's illegal to physically discharge a weapon in town?
Because it's indoor.
Hmm.
So if I set up a shooting range in my basement, that's okay?
We wouldn't say that, we wouldn't give legal advice on that.
My wife won't like it, but, just curious.
She might be the one with the gun, she might like it.
Or do you want a decision on distance from us?
Well, they're
You,
looking for
we don't need it, it's
recommendation.
just a recommendation. You can either say yes, no, or yes by increasing it to 500, however you wanted to respond.
Okay.
So what's the,
thought?
what's the thing for cannabis for residential?
For-
500 also?
For residential, yeah, it's 500 feet
So
from
it's five-
residential.
Such as 500 feet. I'm good with that. All the way
Yeah,
around.
I'd be, anything further away would be better for me.
Okay, Phil,
I'm good.
And
so
that-
that would be our recommendation.
All right, so you would recommend to move forward with it with the,
I got one more.
okay,
Sound attenuation. Most guns are between 150 and 175 dBs. Even with headphones and earplugs inside, it's going to be loud. We want to make sure it don't get on the outside, so that, I think one of the items you'd have to add in there, like no alcohol controlled stuff, but I think sound attenuation must be enforced and the limits.
yeah, that
That-
should be
that
under the
is in
report
there.
that's submitted.
Yeah, it's in there
Really?
under the Court of Appeals.
Yeah.
And then
Because
It's,
I
um,
brought that up as
Well,
well.
I was
Yeah,
mentioning
no,
it as a
it's-
primary
it's,
issue, the sound attenuation.
Under the, no,
Yeah, I
It's
did see
under
something in
E.
there about,
yeah, it's under, yeah.
internal.
It's under E's, E. Such plan shall specify measures relating to security, safety, noise, storage of firearms, ammunition, environmental impacts.
But it don't mention, the limits. Like, when I put a generator out in Hartford County, I had to have limits on the attenuation at the property line of my pumping station so that I wouldn't interfere with my neighbors.
Right.
So, that was,
Do you want to specifically address noise in a separate line item, or do you feel it's okay the way it is?
I've been to the Hickory Range before, and you never hear it outside. So, I mean, I would just say something to the effect that it has to maintain the noise level inside. They have to, mitigate the noises from the inside so that they don't go outside.
No louder than church bells.
Right.
Since it's under the performance standards, I don't know, I'm fine with it.
That's the way
Do
you would address it.
I think the way it's addressed here is they have to submit
Right.
what they're going to do, and
That's right.
then the Board of Appeals either approves or denies based on that. Or, I know one thing, I don't have anything that would be able to give them decibel levels that they have to meet. I don't even wanna have that responsibility.
And things could
I think
change.
it's basically.
there are guidelines that MDE put out for
Right,
municipalities.
yeah,
'Cause
we
I had to
have,
follow those. And I don't know what the dB, I think it was, I want to say it was like 100 dB at the property, couldn't be higher than 100 dB at the property line. Us talking is what, 85 dB average.
right now, the way the town works is it's 65 decibels, at the place where the complainant is. And that's during the day, and then once it gets past 10 or 11, it goes down to 55. But, as far as the attenuation, it would be something that would have to be provided for the Board of Appeals to, vote on. Is that good?
Sounds fine by me.
I think so, yep,
So it's not, there's nothing specific there, it's just saying you gotta have,
right.
you gotta,
Because you don't know how
you gotta
it's
put
going
some
to change.
insulation in.
Right. I mean,
Well,
there's ways to do
it'd be
it.
a lot of insulation.
A lot of insulation, yes.
And then, I think, in the town, there are very few places where you could do something like this, but, 500 feet from a resident, I'm comfortable with that, but that again limits where this could
Yes,
be constructed, so you might
500
look
feet
around
from
town and say,
residential
there
really
isn't any
does
place
limit it.
that, that's, that meets these limitations, and so we can't do it. But at
Right.
least we have it in the books. That's what it
You put it over
means to
next to
me.
the new courthouse.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Kevin, maybe what we should do is take the 500 feet and do like we did cannabis and just make sure that we're not excluding it from anywhere?
We actually have a
You good?
map that we used for this 500-foot thing off of commercial properties. Whenever somebody is having deliveries.
Oh, okay.
Because that's the 500-foot where you have to do it before or after 7 o'clock. So we have a map like that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Great, good.
We had to do that with cannabis because with all the setbacks, it was like, is it being completely outlawed with all the setbacks, between residential, other dispensaries, 1,000 feet, like,
Yeah, there's not too many places
Yeah.
left over. All right, very
All right.
good. I got your answer there. I don't really have much else for projects because there's no requirement to submit until next Thursday because there's 5 Thursdays in this, this month. So the May 8th is the deadline. I'm almost sure you're going to have something for June 5th. Does anybody have a conflict for June 5th?
No.
Okay,
What
There.
about is that all you have there?
that's all I have.
The 510 Johnny's what's going on in there? Is that gonna be, is that gonna be parking
I went and
for the
got a
courts?
brick yesterday for my wife. From
did
there.
you really?
Yep. The guy Norm running the joint gave it to me.
Right now, we do not have no one's come in and talked to me at all about anything going into 510, the place where 510 Johnny's used to be.
Who owns the property?
I believe it's owned by,
Is it the same guy that had the diner?
it's the same guy who owns the, I think, owns the property that Target sits on.
No, the guy that owned the diner don't own it.
Wasn't there
Oh.
some
He owned the
connection
building.
He had the business
He
and
had the
leased it.
building,
had the
but not the
business.
property.
Right.
I understand there's 3 or 4 properties in there, the guy told me yesterday. And he was under the impression they were gonna turn into a parking lot for the new courthouse.
That's the street talk.
But
Right.
I don't know if that's
I'm hearing the
rumor,
same
he
thing.
didn't know if that was factual or not.
Well,
He
and
heard
you would-
that rumor, so.
It made sense to me because you would think if somebody was gonna, I keep telling people, I said, well, we haven't seen anything here and I haven't heard of anything even at your end and, why would you demolish a building unless you had a plan to do something with the
Yeah,
property?
that was a nice building.
I know that they had a lot of break-ins,
Yeah, they did.
a lot of break-ins.
I reported one of them myself.
And it
Yeah,
cost-
Bel Air PD said that was the worst one.
It costs money to take down a building and if you don't have a plan to do something, then
They built that $4.4 million to build that.
Is
You
that
believe that?
wow,
And they're tearing that down.
it was always
Oh.
too much, too big.
There's a for sale sign on the corner at Walgreens, where the Walgreens was, where, the diner and all, right on the corner. Just last week, they put a for sale sign up. Does Walgreens own that property outright, or are they selling all the property there?
No, they own that property.
And they'll be able to put something there in front of a courthouse? I thought that's why
Maybe
all
there'll
those
be a shooting
businesses were
range.
pretty much out of there, because it was all the state took over all that property, I thought.
My impression was that the state has options on all of those properties, but I don't know about Walgreens.
Because they told the diner it had to be out last May. But they opted to go out the end of the year instead of all the way in May, but
I thought Walgreens owned it, corporate Walgreens, but I couldn't say for sure. You'd have to look it up on tax map.
that's been an unlucky corner. All nice businesses were there, but it was always unlucky.
Yep.
I don't know why.
All right.
All
Okay.
gone now, so we
I'm
can
glad.
not have a court building there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you did sent the letter out, reminding people that their approval is coming up, is coming to the end.
We actually already have somebody requesting an extension, but I'm not gonna take them on any crowded agenda, because their approval doesn't expire until October. It would be the,
Why am I drawing? a blank?
Wellwood, the.
Oh,
assisted
Main
living.
Street,
Yeah.
okay.
So that'll probably happen in July or August.
And the Green Turtle closed up last night,
I
if
saw
anybody's
that.
interested.
Yep.
Horrible food.
All right,
Okay?
motion to
Can I
adjourn?
say that? Is there a motion to
Yeah.
adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
We- look,